Are you ready to learn? Because my super experienced guests are ready to share some really valuable information. Make sure and listen all the way to the end to get help and support. So let's start with the best audio experience.
Hello guys, welcome to our show. Today we discuss about user experience, how you can set up yours, how you can check out, how you can improve it, because today without user experience it's hard to go ahead, it's hard to develop your website, it's hard to grow your business. That's why I'm so excited to discuss this topic with Daniel Ley. How are you?
Hey, I'm fine. Thanks for having me in your show, Anatoly.
Yeah, for me it's a big pleasure because I pay a lot of attention to UX, and sometimes I can ignore other elements, for example, technical optimization or anything else. Because, I found that when we have limited resources, it's better to consider your strong side. And for me, UX is more important than many other aspects. Without UX, it's hard to get any results. That's why I pay a lot of attention to this element. Before we start, just tell more about yourself, experience, background, and why you decided to share with us about UX.
Yeah, well, so my name is Daniel. I'm based in Bonn in Germany, and I'm in the digital space for more than 23 years now. I started as a visual designer back then, but very early, I think in 2003, I had my first contacts with what is today called user experience. So I was designing Expedia in that time, and we were testing with real users to enhance and optimize the conversion of the booking engine. So that was when we had the first usability tests running, and where we were starting also to measure success of changes we had. Back then, we were also starting with the first A/B testings, which today still is not common, but it should be. So that is where my experience started, and where my heart in regards to UX growth has grown more and more. So in that time, I was working with an agency. We were also creating a software product for the travel industry. Then we were being bought by Amadeus, which is today, I guess, one of the largest software companies for the travel industry. And in the last few years there, I led UX for the German, Austrian, and Swiss market, the UX and design team, and trying to integrate holistic UX processes in my business unit. And since 1.5 years ago, I left Amadeus to follow my own venture, which is called like Kickstart Yes, which is a starter kit for design systems. And of course, this is also fully driven with my holistic UX approach. We really live this in our whole DNA with the team.
Yeah, love it. Awesome. Okay, can you tell where to start? Let me ask it another way. For example, we know interesting question: an egg or chicken. What about UX, text or design? Because I found that many marketers can tell different ways. Someone with design background can tell, of course, design. Someone with writing this background can tell, no, you need to write text. By the way, I like to write text more. From your perspective, where to start? What is the most important element where need to be foundation of all this, of all content to satisfy UX?
I would say nothing of it. It's just part of the whole process. It starts with a conversation with your users, and even a conversation with your business, because that UX thing is not something you do for self-living. You want to reach goals. You want to maybe extend your business. You want to make more revenue in the end. So that's ultimately the goal to reach, and how to reach that better is by doing research. And this to me is where everything starts. It's the conversation with the users or with your customers. And and the design, the visual design of that part, the texts and content, it's all part of the piece. It's all a matter for the whole holistic success of it. So so there's no this first or that first. It's a whole team. It's a team sport. So in the end, you need every party to make the whole product or service a success.
Okay, let's talk about how to research users, customers to understand their pain points, problems, because I see when webmasters usually use generic data from tools, online studies, the average data. It might help, but each case is different, unique, and we have unique selling proposition, and customers are different, have different mindset. Can you tell about how to learn customers before creating content?
Of course, this strongly depends, as you've just said. It's a matter of the context. But anyways, to me, the mixture counts. So having a little bit of qualitative research in regards to talking to users, making interviews, and of the course, and on the other hand, of course, a quantity research. So you have some tools to track the user, to generate more quantity data, and often, let's for example, there's a tool called Hotjar. So it's a tool where you can track user sessions and record user sessions on the web. Often you might see patterns and you find patterns, but sometimes you have data where you might not come up with an idea on how to solve that problem. You just see there's a problem, but then you need to talk to the people to get more insights about what is that problem. So I would say it strongly depends. Sometimes it depends on the case. So if you wanna measure which button is more successful, depending on the label, you might run an A/B test. So you have rather the button with continue as a label or buy, and then you will quickly see which is more performant. But in more complex cases, you need to talk to your users, and then again measure, and maybe measure before and then talk. So it's quite a mixture.
Yeah, got it. I think personalization is a must-have today, because 10 years ago, when I started my online journey, I didn't care about personalization, about users, because competition was low. But today, when we have, if I remember correctly, like 1.8 billion websites online that want to get traffic, sales. So you need to personalize as maximum as possible, especially when we have big competitors, I don't know, Amazon, YouTube, Pinterest, many others. So and these competitors occupy the top 10 results. So it's better to find the right strategy. Can you tell about another aspect that many websites ignore? Simplicity. Because, for example, if I open apple.com, I see only iPhone on the first screen, nothing else. No, just 2 words, probably a few words. I don't remember exactly, but a few words. Quote make difference, but many other websites, they are trying to submit a lot of text, a lot of information, products, and I often see websites that list almost all their products in the home page. When users open this page, they don't know what to do, how to buy. That's why Apple simplify user experience. Can you tell about simplicity? For example, I know my customers' pain points. They need to know my reviews, portfolio, I don't know, prices, delivery, anything. But I can't submit all this information in the home page or product page. Can you tell how to choose priorities and simplify content?
Again, and I guess I will say this more often in our dialogue. It depends. So I had some cases where, like, the customer does know that most of his clients do not visit this page through the homepage. So lots of traffic, let's say, on that website. So the client could completely sell placements on his homepage to B2B customers because he had quite some numbers, so he can make money with that. But he did know that most customers or potential interests, they hit the page through Google and landing deep on a landing page and not even touching the homepage. So the homepage could be noisy and it doesn't bother anyone. But in regards, because people and the real potential customers end up on landing pages, and those landing pages then are simple. They rely on the information towards that explicit product. And what I just can say from like hundreds of user tests I participated, or I did even where I was leading the test, is that people really do not like to read much. So simplicity is key, and it's not only about like Google or Apple who really master that field. It's really about to learn in that ongoing continuous conversation with your customer, what is really important to him. So is it also simplifying text, headlines, descriptions? What are the key informations that your user want to aggregate, and then react on that and simplify it?
Yeah. I remember one study that shared only 5% of all books are read. In most cases, people start and stop, quit reading, and it's the same with any content. Like 50-80% of all websites, users bounce for a few seconds, so because they don't wanna read. And if users can transfer this text directly to their mind, they probably do. That's why it's important today to write text, non-boring text. For example, once I had conversation with Jim Edwards, and he worked in Business Insider for 10 years. He started on this company from scratch, then sold this company for $500 million, 1,000 employees, and he told me about their success, that it depends on writing non-boring text. Because, for example, if I open Jack London, I can read 8 hours without stop. I can forget about a meal, about water, about anything. I can live on this new adventure. He wrote all these awesome books 100 years ago. And I think it's important to write non-boring text that people are interested to read. It doesn't matter what kind of niche you have. It might be business, anything. For example, many business books are good for sleeping. Now, when you have the problem with sleep, you can open this book to read before night, and you will sleep all night. So you don't need to take any pills, anything. Okay, I found on your experience that you have had experience manager and managing director UX strategy. Can you tell about UX strategy? How to create UX strategy and stand out from the rest?
Yeah, so what I said in the beginning, that you really need to be clear about business goals. So, and that's where also UX strategy starts. It's like there's a whole bunch of methods out there, how to research, how to test things. Whereas user experience is somehow scientific, is a scientific approach. And there's also an ISO norm explaining that. But anyways, if you want to make sure to reach your goals, that's where to start. So also talking of stakeholders, which kind of management is involved, which language do they speak? So I need to adapt, and that's important for my strategy. So there are often really great UX folks out there, and they talk UX straight, but they cannot talk the management talk. So that is important to get to know, because as a UX or as a team who wants to do proper UX, you need to talk to your company stakeholders plus all your users you want to serve. And it's not because your C-level management does not care about the user; they just care about revenue.
Yeah.
So, and you need to understand that, and that's where it starts. And then it's about, okay, how can we have the biggest impact on our targeted goal? Is it revenue, or maybe it's user engagement? And in the end, it's all about revenue. What in my experience. So, but while I was working in e-commerce all my time somehow. And then you can decide together with the team, okay, what do we need to enhance? What do we need to create? Let's thinking of product features. And it's important to have the product manager on board all the time, being convinced of the approach. And in the best case, the product manager is pairing with the UX expert in the team for the best result. And then you can decide, okay, what's the best strategy? Which data do we need? Where do we get the data? Do we need to run interviews? Do we need to run more data-driven approaches, like a survey with the target group? And also really thinking about what is our customer segment, and how can we start the best conversation with that customer segment, and how is our product performing today already in that terms? Is it rather producing a new product or feature, or is it enhancing a part of the feature, or is it maybe decommissioning something to simplify something? So and so it's a full strategical approach where you then in the most, let's say, smallest steps iterate on what's better in terms of my goals. And it's super important to have measurement processes set up all the time.
Yeah, I agree. It's better to measure before doing something. But I found another aspect that important, intuition. When you have experience, when you know how things work, and sometimes we can measure anything, or for example, it's hard to measure, or the numbers that we get can be different. And I found we can use intuition. I remember when Jeff Bezos on his meeting, when he got research about a new product, and the research team told him we need to spend more time to over research, and he replied to them, no way guys, we need to test it, we need to analyze, we need to launch the first version to learn from mistakes and go ahead. So it's like intuition, and I think many businesses ignore intuition because nobody knows what actually will work. So it takes time to analyze. And I remember one interesting quote: if you get awesome feedback after the first launch, that means you launched this product too late. So
yeah. I was thinking of this as well, just right now. Yeah, and I wouldn't say intuition is bad in that process. So there can be an idea, some feeling from out of your guts, and it's rather to test this quickly, and that's where this fail fast approach, the term fail fast, comes from. It's not about failing in the end, it's about learning. But anyway, that's what I do not like about the term, because failing is okay, and you need to fail fast to not to burn too much money in the end. But of course, in intuition, you can follow your intuition, but you need to also again then check, and maybe that's then the strategic or systematic thinking approach. How can I check this with the minimum effort, with the minimum invest? So, and that's how to learn fast. And
go ahead.
and anyways, it's super important to somehow also really from all the results, if you measure, what to make out of it. So you can also make can have a wrong analysis, or the analysis pointing you towards something which looks super promising, but in the end is also not working as expected. So it's measuring is great, learning from the measurement and then analyzing and deciding what to do next is also somehow quite interesting and thoughtful process.
Yeah,
overall,
you remind me. Yeah, you remind me interview with Shaquille O'Neal. He is one of the best basketball players, and someone asked him about failing, and he replied that for him, he always fails when he started something new. He always fails, but he doesn't feel it's failure. It feels like education, learning, because you can't go ahead without failures. And in the beginning, it's the part of the process. Then you can keep learning from failures and go ahead. For me, yeah, failing only brings new experience, nothing else. Daniel, I have the question about management. Can you tell how to manage people? For example, in SEO field, I usually manage more than create content, than provide link building campaigns, because I found many people on my team are much better than me. They are better on the link building, on content creation. They're better in design, many other aspects, but I can manage them to create a cohesive product. Can you tell about management in UX, how to manage people, and tell more about a team that you need to have to create complete products?
Yeah, so I would say in lots of organizations you have that UX team, or you have a design team, and there is a combination of like information architects, usability engineering, UX design, and so on and so on. But that is rather the expertise or the expert domain, or what in lots of companies nowadays it's called the community of practice. And I guess, or I would say my approach was all the time that really have the experts, UX experts, inside their teams, in their feature or product teams, and then really leading them on a rather on a coaching approach. So because every team maybe has different products to care about, different goals, and they needed to make the best out of that team and product together with that team, because as said, UX is a team sport. So, and then it's rather of management wise to really see and appoint the right resources to their dedicated teams to have that set up well, and then overall like care about the overarching UX vision for that organization. Say, okay, because I'm your manager in the line organization, I'm the one getting the budget for training, for trainings, workshops. Maybe I'm the interface between C-level and you, and I will translate what you, because I know from you do not like to talk that management talk, so I do that for you, and maybe you can learn then with me together how to talk that, and vice versa. So it's rather like orchestrating the team within the whole organization.
Can you tell how to encourage people to create high quality products, to spend more time, to focus? For example, no, even more about focus. I found when you have a lot of things to do, but when your resources are limited, for example, 2 hands, that's it. And I usually tell, okay, if we can't do all this stuff, let's choose priorities and create much better results with priorities. Skip or delegate the rest. If we can't delegate, let's skip it. We can't do everything. Can you tell about focus, priorities, and encouragement? How to tell your employees, people, that it's better to choose priorities and encourage them to create high quality products?
Yeah, I guess it's again like a process of experiencing that. So you only can do a quality UX if you also experience the things. So let's say if the product manager prioritizes differently than maybe the UX and dev team together, maybe it's time for let the product manager join one of the user tests and maybe also share with him the user pain, not only having the recording from a usability test, really let him live be there, be your guest when you run that test. So he can really sense and feel the pain of the user, maybe of something he prioritized and which was not the best prioritization in regards to the UX or product success, let's say. And I would say this is overall super essential. And in terms of digital products, I just can recommend talk and work hand in hand with developers. They have so many great ideas. It's not only the designers. The designers come up with these shiny, nice looking things, but the superpower is together with the developers. And still also in Agile, in lots of companies working Agile, I still see that design is an upfront process. It's not really hand in hand. There's some pieces are designed and then they're thrown over to the devs and they do somehow rank and measure the efforts on what is okay and in budget in terms of what they can code within that sprint. But the best results are when you just from the scratch work with developers, and that's for design people really something they also have to learn. Talking to developers, understanding developers, and then really working and collaborate with developers from day one. And on the other hand, developers need to learn that as well. But that's a good thing. What I do also see within the design system space and community, which is having lots of momentum nowadays, is that is really one field of expertise where this is happening, and really ending in great results.
Can you clarify more about this sentence? Own a design system without investing years of development. I want to save my years of development. I know for me, time is the most valuable asset that I have, because I can lose money, I can lose properties and get back them, but I can't get back my time. That's why I usually today pay a lot of attention how I spend my time. Can you tell more how to save years, on investing with your design system? Because it's interesting. I found when you have some templates or anything else, you need to personalize them. You need to create something unique. So tell how you decide such issue and provide this design system.
Yeah, basically, like a design system is like a collection of all the design decisions baked in a component library for your organization. And normally an organization who owns a design system, or who has at least the need for a design system, has many touch points. And you want to have a consistent look and feel of all your touch points. Plus you want to maybe create new touch points. And without the design system, you every time have to start the development from the UI from the scratch. You need to recreate a button, a card, form labels, and so on and so on. And the design system is there to have that consistent library, which is in the best case even agnostic to all your products. And but that comes with a price, because developing such a design system is really time intense, because those components need to fulfill more complex criteria than maybe for a throwaway product, which comes out from Webflow or Wix.com or whatsoever. So you want to have you want to care about accessibility. You want to have good maintenance across all those components you need to have, and that's basically the problem we want to tackle with Kickstart.ds. So have a code first starter kit for all those basics, to which you can, and it's open source. And you can start with it, start coding your design system based on Kickstart.ds, and it's where you can really save that years of investment. Because initially, like really, it's a little bit analog to UX. When starting UX in a larger organization, you need to convince stakeholders on the invest in UX. You need to explain why UX is important, why UX on the long run saves money. And it's pretty analog with design systems. You need to convince all the stakeholders that it's better to rely on a design system than to recreate it every time. And you need to get the budget therefore. And that's,
yeah, I agree. Yes, sometimes you need to tell, please open your big pocket, wallet, give money, because without this investment, it's hard to go ahead. So, but stakeholders understand something like this. When they invest X, they want to get 2x back, or something like this. So that's why you need to measure anything to tell what kind of results we can predict by doing this. So yeah, agree.
Yeah, and that's also a big topic in the design system space, how to measure my return on invest. And what I often try to explain, like the decision makers, to say it's similar, like in design system is an internal tool. It's like your office structure, it's an infrastructural tool. You optimize working processes when creating products. So you have maybe you have Slack, maybe you have Teams, whatsoever. It's a software you pay for to optimize processes, and it's similar to a design system. So it's quite hard to measure the return on invest.
Let's talk about common mistakes. Can you tell what mistakes businesses do and your ways how to find a much better way?
Sorry, I didn't didn't got your question because it was noise.
Yeah, sorry for this noise. Someone decided to stop this podcast again. No worries about that. I'm interested about common mistakes. Can you tell what mistakes businesses do and how to find a much better way without these mistakes?
I would say, like, lots of companies do not really structurize the process of having that conversation with customers to really make the most out of that learning. What I often see is like, okay, there's an ambitious UX expert, and he convinced people in a company to start that conversation and to learn from the users. And whenever that guy or girl is leaving that team, the team stops doing that. So, and that is a big mistake. The team should somehow adapt that kind of thinking And maybe it's not perfect because they are not the experts anymore. And if the company does not have enough UX experts to join in all the teams, but it's still better to do it not in the perfect scientific way. It's still better than not doing anything or than stopping that conversation.
Yeah,
I think that is really a broad mistake.
Yeah, for me, doing is more important than learning. You know, you can read 100 books how to play soccer, but if you don't play soccer, if you don't hit the ball 1,000 times, how you can beat Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo or even mediocre players? You know, because I think most sportsmen spend more time by doing than learning how to play, how to do something. And I see the same mistake in marketing when companies spend more time by learning. But it's interesting that we have short memory. We can forget about anything for a few days. I can forget for a few hours. Give me some knowledge, I can forget. That's why I usually make notes. I usually implement, even if I'm not sure how it works. So it's better to implement, to try it. Yeah, something like this. Daniel, I have the question about. Let's imagine you started from scratch without any experience, knowledge, skills. What will you do today to learn more about UX?
Yeah, there's of course a handful of books which I would recommend to read, and also to reread it over time, because there's one famous book which is called Lean UX by Jeff Gothelf, which is already like more than 10 years old. And when I first read it, I thought, yeah, it sounds good, I want to try out. But it's so dense in terms of what is described there that you really need to gain lots of experience. And then when you reread it once, you notice, that maybe he meant this. So I wasn't experienced enough to really understand when reading on the first hand. And that's with quite some books. It's also just be open to try out and learn, and look for someone around you from out of your network who is really experienced, who can be your mentor, right? So I'm also participating in the German UPA, which is like the User Professionals Association, and I'm a mentor there, and they have an official mentoring program. So there is also, meanwhile, the associations try to connect youngsters with more experienced people. But if you do not have that chance, still, UX, all the UX people I know, they really like to share their learnings, because it's like part of that mindset. It's about continuous learning, and you only can really learn when someone is sharing their thoughts. And hence I would say everyone adapts that and also likes to share his learnings, and that is super essential. And of course there's at least you can study things, but it's also lots of try, fail and error, and go and again stand off the ground and retry.
Yeah, nice. Love it. Daniel, it's a big pleasure to get you on my show, to learn from you. Tell our audience how they can reach out to you, learn more about you, follow you.
Yeah, sure. So you, of course, you can hit Kickstart Yes on Twitter, and you can hit me and follow me on Twitter and LinkedIn. So I guess you might link that in the show notes. So
Yeah, I will. Guys, you can find all the links in the show notes. Listen us on Apple, Google, Spotify. Thanks again for your time. A big pleasure. You know, I love all your insights. You're passionate about that. So I love learning from passionate people who can share their experience, interested insights. Guys, you need to follow on Twitter, Daniel, because you can see a lot of value. Okay, guys, love you. See you.
thank you very much.